Welcome back to Block TV, where it is time for, yes, indeed, Blockchain and Booze, that wonderful segment once a week where we gather wheelers and dealers from the sphere and have them answer questions while trying to stay sober. Luckily for us, returning victims today, Lokay Cohen, hello, Vice President at Bittax, wonderful to have you. Never ever the same without or with David Kimberly, editor at Finance Magnets, lovely to have you. God bless Agadana Mary, General Manager at 21M Capital. Great to have you with us. This is double alcohol, I'm assuming. And our very own, just to make it an equal sphere, so to speak, our very own Block TV correspondent, Usher Westrup Evans, the Disruptor. To explain, it's kind of like Brand the Broken. Okay, yes, I'm just saying. Now, let's start with, first and foremost, of course, the talk of the town, the talk of the sphere. 2 weeks in, or almost 3, regulators looking to clamp down on Libra. Can they stop Facebook's endeavor? David Marcus, that's that man in charge. It looks like he's exercising since 5 a.m. in the morning. The man tasked with launching Libra from announcement into reality has taken to Facebook to explain some things. Marcus responded to critics on various issues, including call-outs on over-centralization, relationship with regulators, and general lack of trust that the tech giant suffers from. Let's start with how David Marcus tried to combat that on a post on Facebook. I stress today, here's his first quote. We made the deliberate decision to announce the plans for Libra early. This was after an initial consultative phase with regulators, central banks, and other organizations from all around the world, launching a high-quality medium of exchange in the form of cryptocurrency. And its supporting infrastructure cannot happen in darkness. Now, I personally find so many issues with this statement. David, do you want to pick this one up?
I mean, it seems like kind of a shot at regulators who have been expressing a lot of surprise and almost acting shocked, but I get the impression from what he said that they probably already knew about it, which then begs the question, why are they acting the way they are?
It's very true. Is this all a big game? I'm wondering also with all of you, who wants to take this, this is an answer that basically shows that Libra is not ready. Am I right in saying that?
Because they say they announced
They
early?
announced too soon, yeah.
I don't think he did say that he announced.
No, he didn't say no.
He said he announced, but the statement of we announced early in order to help build, these things aren't best done in darkness, I think is a way of perhaps cleverly, or depending on how you think about it, covering your own ass to sort of say, all right, we announced early, of course, we're still in the consultative phase, we're still in development, this isn't coming out, regulators shouldn't freak out. But on the flip side of that, there is just cause then, I think, from a regulation perspective to say, all right, so we need to halt what we're doing here and take a good look at what you're planning.
I think that if they were announcing like 2 weeks before they're getting out there, then they would have started a lot of problems with regulations. We see now the Senate committee, the banking committee of Congress deliberating like next week or maybe. Well, there's going to
be the first hearing, which, by the way, I think best be watched with popcorn. First hearing is actually in the middle of July. Indeed, I believe it's the 16th
and 17th, both days of continuous hearing, and it's very exciting. It's never happened in cryptocurrency, which I believe it's really going to help cryptocurrency industry. And if they were like going 2 weeks before, what are they going to do with the Congress hearing?
It might help cryptocurrency, but Libra is not a cryptocurrency, no?
Well, who decides what cryptocurrency? If you're going to look at the like Investopedia or something, it says cryptocurrency. Not promoting anything.
No, it's okay. I apparently am on there as well. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a cryptocurrency using cryptographic sort of way, like white paper or mechanism, and on blockchain, right? Both things. You can say that it does not say decentralized. It says cryptographic and blockchain. Both things happen with Libra. So I think Libra is going to make Congress define, or each regulator define what is cryptocurrency and what's not cryptocurrency. Then what is it? Is it security? Is it a coin, or is it just, like a stock?
What about the people who grew up in the sphere and the evangelists that cryptocurrency is a decentralized form of money? At the end of the day, that's where, which is all fine. I'm just wondering why Facebook is honing, if one cannot even argue raping and pillaging that term, cryptocurrency. If this thing is the mother, it's going to be centralized, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Seems so. I don't know. People still have opinions to here and there.
That is true.
I think it's going to be decentralized. I don't see Facebook actually decentralized. I think it's going to be centralized. I don't see Facebook decentralizing and giving away their power. I think this is also the concern by the US and regulators, that they're actually going to be a global coin and overthrowing sovereign money, which is a big threat to governments. I think this is kind of they're saying a lot of things about Facebook, the privacy issue and...
Let me help you out here. This is the quote. All of this, and as you mentioned, is coming on the heels of the course of within this week, Congress and some of the biggest Democratic, dare I stress, leading up to election year congressmen have had the following to say. This is the second quote for the control. That's from the legislator's letter. Because Facebook is already in the hands of over a quarter of the world's population, it is imperative that Facebook and its partners immediately cease implementation plans until regulators and Congress have an opportunity to examine these issues and take action. That doesn't seem like they're going to let this thing happen, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem like they're eager to let it happen. Whether this becomes a partisan issue or it continues to maintain bipartisan support, we haven't heard small statements from a few Republican leaders, but not so many as we have certainly from the Democratic side. That'll be an interesting play, as you say, going into an election year, whether this can be swung to be a matter of free market versus regulation, whatnot. But I think the bigger issue to come to play here, and I think Orr touched on this, and this is actually something where I agree more so than the last time we spoke on this matter before the Libra white paper came out, that actually this could be a good way to bring cryptos into the limelight and certainly, for better or worse, create some sort of codification in one of the least regulated industries that exists out there in those terms of financial asset classes. It is so under-regulated, this perhaps could force that hand.
Yeah.
No, I agree and disagree, because I think that if Facebook, firstly, to go back to your question initially, Facebook has always managed to shrug off any attempt to impose power upon it. It will always set, Mark Zuckerberg always has this thing where he goes, "I'm really sorry," and then he just continues doing exactly what he did before. And but in terms of regulation, I don't think it would be positive for the space, because it would then be Facebook dictating the terms of that regulation, and I wouldn't want Facebook dictating the terms.
That's a main concern. Yeah.
I agree with that, David, but I'm hoping, and maybe this is a little too much optimism, but this could be the tipping point. I mean, after the Cambridge Analytica scandal, you saw that there was a push for privacy. You now see, again, certainly maybe more on the Democratic side, but there is bipartisan support for antitrust actions, anti-monopoly actions being taken place, and a lot of people talking to break up some of these big tech groups. Maybe this could be the push that makes people go, Congress is going to say, don't touch our money. That's something that I think everyone can agree with in Congress, and I think that's something that could really get bipartisan support. And as strong as Facebook's lobbyists are, I'm not sure they're strong enough to get past this.
Well, and I think we're all waiting actually for one tweet when it comes to Libra, which we're yet to see.
That's true.
And that is from POTUS, better known as the President of the United States. All that said, looking at Libra, I'm just wondering with you guys, because before we leave Marcus alone, because Libra, at the end of the day, he's selling, can't be done in darkness, yada. Why do we think that Facebook keeps pushing the whole notion of, other than to say, decentralization, if it's not going to be decentralized? They keep using that as buzzwords. It makes it sound as...
I think because it is a buzzword, in a lot of ways it's become meaningless. Like when people say decentralized...
So that's exactly my question. Has it become meaningless? Do we really care about decentralization?
And I think...
Yes. I mean, who's we?
Okay, let's start with this. We people, human beings, but we're going to start with this panel. Your representatives.
I think the average person doesn't care. I think the
average person doesn't necessarily understand what it means for them.
Yeah,
I think there is, ways to go in terms of people really understanding what decentralization means and how it affects their life and how things can be done differently. And I think, you need understanding of what it is, and you need some imagination. And we're not there yet, I think, for the general population. I'm not sure if the panel agrees, but I'm happy to hear other opinions. But I think for me personally, it's important.
What does decentralization mean for you?
I think the revolution of disintermediating center powers,
right,
and enabling more peer-to-peer transactions, and actually being able to code agreements between each other without having to trust anybody in the middle, and just trust the contract, can change significantly a lot of things in the way that we do them today. But more than that, can create new things that we didn't even think about before. So it's not just about improving how we live our lives, or doing certain things. It's also adding new things that we never thought were possible, like, I don't know, like internet-enabled Airbnb, and nobody ever thought they could go to Barcelona and sleep at someone's bed and trust it.
Right.
So I think there is, we're not there yet in terms of everybody understanding what it means. So maybe premature to
what
ask.
will happen first.
But as well, I agree with your vision. I don't think Facebook actually has that vision, because if you look,
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's centralized. But the question
but
is,
even I think they risk watering down that idea for the general public, because David Marcus said, I read the full post, and he says at one point, this isn't a Facebook project. We hope at launch to have 100 different companies involved. Talk about decentralization. I'm sorry, but 100 of the wealthiest companies, biggest companies in the world, taking control of a financial system sounds incredibly centralized to me. Does not sound decentralized. Bitcoin sounds decentralized.
Or I see your face, but he's right, because it's centralized, and there's one person picking them at the price of $10 million.
$10 million.
$10 million.
I mean, come on.
Okay, but who's to say that decentralization has to be the only way? Maybe
Sure.
they can coexist, and people can choose whatever they want. Is Ripple not a cryptocurrency? Is the project of JP Morgan is not a cryptocurrency?
I would argue it's not. But okay, yeah.
Some would
Yes.
argue it's not, but there is
It's a
there is
digital-
lot
it's
of
a digital
right,
currency.
but there is a lot of advantage in decentralization. That's right, but also there's a lot of advantages in a centralized coin.
yes, but that's not a revolution then.
It can't be, because if the government is not monitoring it, and Facebook will be in charge of this cryptocurrency or not cryptocurrency, whatever you want, and then we have the Apple coin and the Google coin, and then you have competition. And when you have competition, you can choose your own monetary and federal bank, and you still profit out of it in a much more maybe sensible way than decentralization. It has its own problem. I'm not talking about scalability and stuff. I'm talking about the people. There is not one deep pocket person which can fight regulation, and we'll see. We're 10 years into Bitcoin. There is no regulation for exchanges. There is no one who can protect the investors, and a lot of people are afraid to come in. So centralized is fine, whether it does not have to be exclusive. It can coexist, but you have to acknowledge that it's not all wrong.
And it's not all wrong, but has so many, many, many issues above it. I think I'm more of the mind of, that's all well and done, and I think there's a need for an easier way for the greater public, I'm simplifying it, to pay for things, or even to combat what's going on, and to have an Alipay, let's face it, it's that, okay? It's AliExpress.
But then the difference
it's
is
a reserve.
Yeah, the difference is the reserve element. The difference is the fundamental economics that underpin this, and that's where I'd agree with you, or in the sense I don't think we need to get locked into a semantic game of, is this a cryptocurrency, is this not, is this centralized, is this decentralized? You're right, there's a spectrum of capabilities, and we should be exemplifying and pushing for all different elements of the spectrum. The part that scares me more, and the part that I think should be more alarming, is the fundamental economics of setting up a coin that could rival sovereign currency in a way that's fundamentally controlled by a particular group of people that I don't necessarily want in control. And maybe that's a bias of who I am, but I don't
buy
like,
Libra.
Yeah,
Don't
perhaps
buy
so,
Libra.
but they,
I know
but
that
you
you're
Just
going to
replace
have
the centralized
to
system with
choose.
another centralized system. You see what I
yeah,
mean?
but also-
this one could have a competition.
Yeah.
Okay, and when there is a competition in the market, you can see that it's benefit the one who bought it.
Okay, but if
You
there's
can
competition,
choose.
this is a monopoly. The problem that is an issue is that Facebook has an effective
Right
monopoly
now.
on social media.
You know why?
But
do you know why right now I thought you mean Libra. Okay,
but
Facebook.
there-
Thank
there's
God
a-
he was able to to post his post, because we all know that Facebook had a lot of issues this 24 hours.
Sure.
But you're right. They have a lot of users, and this is a very big advantage for them, and this is why they can cost the adoption that we all want to see. But after this is going, after people know how to adopt, people know how to open a wallet, people know how to transact the money, What's keeping
What
them
is
from
the
going
what is
to
the
other
guarantee that
cryptocurrency?
Facebook is not going to do something to manipulate the market as such? And you know what? It actually go ahead.
To support what she said, I think if you look at, say, Venezuela, the government in Venezuela has a monopoly on the fiat currency in the country, but there's still thousands of people of stores and shops and stuff like that will let you pay in Dash or Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So if Libra does become it just becomes the equivalent of a central bank, which I guess it could, and it does exactly the same thing, then there's nothing to stop you from going back to whatever, Bitcoin, Dash, something like that.
It doesn't take away the actual decentralized coin, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just I'm wondering what it does other than put power, replace the same central power in another central power.
I think the more
and for us to trust that new central power is not going to mess up. Pardon me for identifying this. Not going to mess up like the other ones.
I think the more worrying thing is not actually about necessarily to do with crypto, but to do with how they would use the data that they get from you spending money.
Let's touch on that, because some people down under, not necessarily Asha here, are quite pissed off. Another challenge facing the social media giant comes from the legal arena in Australia. A new initiative is being put forward by an Israeli lawyer to sue Facebook for breaching competition laws with its crypto ad ban it implemented last year. And there is a lot of criticism about that ad ban. Earlier this week, BLOCKTV, namely this young man, had a chance to interview the man behind what he claims is a $500 billion lawsuit. Again, it's just in the beginning. The biggest ever class action in history, who says Australian law has protections in place to battle these kind of, what he calls cartel practices. Let's take a look at a bit of that interview.
So on the 30th of January 2018, Facebook announced a draconian ban of all cryptocurrency related advertising on its platform. The markets dropped 53% in the next week. In the following weeks, Google followed suit. The market dropped again 30%, and then Twitter followed, another 23% loss. $300 billion, $100 billion, and another $100 billion loss. We say that this ad ban by the biggest almost monopolists in the online advertising industry was an illegal and anti-competitive cartel. And what's even worse, and has been revealed recently, is that all this time they were working on their own cryptocurrency, Project Libra. They called the rest of the industry scams. They banned their advertising, all while coming up with their own Project Libra, which has precisely the same key marketing points as they explicitly banned in their terms and conditions.
Okay, I'm putting the lawsuit for a second aside. Just let's listen to what the man said when it comes to the, the so-called, that type of behavior, which is cartelish to say the least. Okay, this is very Jamie Dimon-like in a way that reminds me of, remember before the JP Morgan thing came out, and Jamie Dimon for about 18 months, or I don't know how long, was trashing crypto.
Not only trashing, he actually said if he catches anybody under JP Morgan,
he's fired.
Dealing with cryptos, buying cryptos, selling cryptos, whatever, fired.
Exactly.
All the while, they're working on a coin.
Or?
What do I have to say? I cannot defend these actions. I try to have a crypto campaign in Facebook that
was banned.
It was shut down, right? Like
what was the reasoning you got?
When
did that process happen? I'm just interested how that happened.
Well,
like when you're trying to raise a crypto campaign on Facebook and then you shut down, how?
No.
What comes
first?
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
First, you're posting something. Then Facebook is offering you to promote this post for several dollars, never mind for a click. Then you said, okay, you know what? I will promote this post, and you put all the the information, and then after 24 hours, you get a message that you are posting something that you cannot post cryptocurrency and stuff like that. And they shut you down.
And they shut you down.
No, I mean, isn't that just prime example here? I mean, there's zero accountability on that. There's zero ability for us as, if a government, let's not pretend governments are perfect, there's plenty of censorship around in the daily world, but let's at least say that in theory there is some accountability, namely democracy, in which I can vote and decide who's in and out. Talk about cartel behavior. Not only have you got Facebook that effectively runs their own monopoly, but now they're combining with a cartel of a bunch of other big companies that run different sectors too. I can only see this ending up in an unregulated mess that, worse than just becoming unregulated, becomes too big to fail.
Exactly.
Well, you
What do
know
we
what
do
they
then?
say, if you can't beat
Exactly.
them,
Join them.
pay $10,000 million.
I'll get my I'll get my checkbook
Hold
out.
on,
now.
join them.
I gotta work on that.
Where do I sign?
Don't worry, if I had 10 million spare, maybe I would sign up to be a validated node. But
I
again,
get
I
that
don't think
before.
that
I know, and before we touch on that, though, I'm just wondering how would the And first of all, we can all agree that okay, it's a capitalist world, and that's competition, and you play to win, and you play nasty. But no, I mean, this is the most undemocratic, anti-competition. I mean, that's a problem.
Are you crazy? They are concerning the poor child in America that cannot have a bank account and they earn the money. How do you say something like this?
Not
about
only
Libra?
that, they're protecting. Why did they ban crypto? Because they're protecting all of these investors from being persuaded to invest in an ICO that will be a scam and will steal their money. Right? This was the reasoning.
Right. No, but now we saw that there was a big blockchain department.
They don't want you to invest in any ICO. Just buy Libra.
Which is not an ICO.
It's not an ICO.
It's not even a cryptocurrency, right?
They fixed it.
And as we're laughing, guys, we're not going anywhere. We will be right back. No flipping.
Sponsored by Ivan. Transfer Bitcoin and Ethereum anywhere.
Suffering from paying with crypto? You should know Ivan. Ivan makes it possible and easy. Ivan Digital Currency, the simpler, safer way to pay and get paid in Bitcoin and Ether instantly. Instant Bitcoin and Ethereum transfers. Speedy Wallet. Multi-cryptocurrency wallet. Wallet recovery system. Transfer Bitcoin and Ethereum anywhere.
And back at Blockchain on Booze, we were just dissecting Facebook, so it is time to talk about what I view as the competition, and we have a snitch in the panel to help us figure this one out. Graham is coming, folks. Woo-hoo. We move on to hot news about Telegram's soon-to-be-launched cryptocurrency. According to a report in Bloomberg, the mother of mainstream, Telegram Messenger's cryptocurrency, the Gram, may have already been appreciated by 200% from last year when it began one of history's biggest ever initial coin offerings. Apropos protection from ICOs, here's an ICO that actually worked. So does this tell us something about the Gram? South Korea's Gram Asia reportedly offered to sell rights to the Grams it holds at a $4 a piece in a sale on July 10th, okay, on crypto exchange Liquid, and this compares with the $1.33 paid by private investors in the second ICO round in March 2018. So look at this bump. What does this tell us about the staying power of ICOs, or maybe specifically about Gram uniqueness? Agada.
First of all, it's important to understand we're calling it an ICO, but we need to talk about it for a minute. Telegram raised the $1.8 billion through a very, very well-organized private sale from only credited investors. In the first round, no Americans at all. So it's not like when we talk about an ICO, we kind of imagine, retail investors being able to invest. This was not the case.
Differently,
this was not the case.
Some ICOs were. I mean, let's not knock all ICOs down at the end of the day. Okay.
No, totally.
Yes.
Second, also important to understand about this is that I don't still understand how this token sale works on Liquid. Telegram did not allow anybody to transfer the SAFT or rights to the SAFT. They also didn't confirm officially or unofficially that they allow it. So it's pretty unclear. I don't know what the token, the $4 price point, what is it based on? Hopefully it's true. It would mean amazing things for us.
For the sake of full disclosure, because Agada is with, I'm just making the connection for with you.
Yeah, sure.
What you make.
We invested in Telegram.
Yes.
We invested in Telegram, and so they're selling second tranche tokens.
Double more than
apparently, which are not locked.
Yeah.
I don't know if If it's $4, if it's an auction, if people will pay, if the price will go down, I'm not sure how that works.
October, theoretically November?
Yes, by
Right.
the end of the year, October or November, they committed to it. So hopefully,
Which, by
that
the
will
way, because to
actually
me
happen.
that's the big chase, and I'm wondering if you guys have been covering. You can have the margarita, honey. So, have you guys been covering it at Finance Magnets?
I'm sure you have. I haven't done a huge amount on it.
But
I
your
like.
opinion
I
on
do
it.
like Telegram. Though. I like the application. I like the guy that founded it, whose name unfortunately
Pavel
slipped
Pavel
my-
Durov.
Yeah. Okay,
Durov,
this
let me
guy.
quote you this also from an article in Bloomberg. Durov aims to enable transaction speeds faster than the Bitcoin and Ethereum blockchains. Okay, hold on, this is from Bloomberg. And may seek to compete with Visa and MasterCard. According to company documents, grams are planned to be used to pay for different services on the TON blockchain, including user application, decentralized data, stress and decentralized data storage, and bypassing censorship.
Well,
Yeah, no, please.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, it's interesting here, and I think perhaps all of us would feel a little differently. Oh, perhaps not. I'm not sure. We'll see. But about the Telegram launch versus Libra, only because Telegram has, for better or worse, at least in an outward-facing sense, proven its credentials in terms of caring about anonymity, caring about that sort of element that goes on behind the scenes, and I think that's given them at least a reputational credibility that makes it a little bit of a different game. And I think your average investor, and certainly your average investor from inside the crypto sphere, is certainly going to feel a lot different about Telegram getting into this space, certainly than this Libra project, which seems to just
No, totally. It's totally different from an agenda perspective. Also, they're trying to create a truly decentralized network, the Telegram Open Network, which is a blockchain. It's supposed to be an ecosystem for decentralized applications. It's supposed to be decentralized. It's supposed to be encrypted. They're trying to create a whole economy around this, and the Gram payment token is only one feature that would go on top of this.
On top of this network of-
blockchain that is essentially
wondering
decentralized.
how much-
And
Yeah.
one other thing, which is important, they actually stated officially that the company behind it has no intentions to ever generate revenues. So they might be generating revenues, but that would be not for profit.
Not for profit?
For developing the
Are
network.
we buying this?
I don't know. Will they?
It's not
will
a-
they be open to American this time, or we don't know it yet?
Through Liquid, it's Liquid doing the token
Yeah.
sale. I haven't. We looked at it. I'm not sure how it works.
Right.
I assume not to Americans, but
Right, because
but
we
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
It is
I
a
actually don't
utility
know.
token.
But the
we don't
second
know
round
it
was
yet.
open to American
Exactly.
investors.
And the interesting thing is that the Russians themselves have already said niet to the Libra,
Right.
as we know. So here we have, I mean, we're looking at, I mean, are you getting my drift? We're looking at this geopolitical split in the new monetary system in a way, no?
But the guy, I could be wrong here, but my impression was that the guy, whose name again I forget,
Dorf.
Pavel, has already was forced to sell VKontakte, no? And so I don't think he even lives in Russia or has very good relations at all with the government.
True.
Now. So I don't think there's any.
No, I don't
kind
think
of-
they're
It's not a
connected.
national
I don't think
and,
that's connected. I'm talking
I actually
though.
think it's a good thing, because one of the things, as a user of their application, I've been curious about is how they would make money without spying on you and selling your data. And if you have a monetary system within it, and you can take a commission fee, that's a way of making money, and that's a way of making money without
stealing your information.
Yeah.
If that is indeed what they're doing.
Yeah,
If that's indeed what
I
they're
don't know
doing.
if that is what they're doing, but
No, I know, but that's the purport thing. That's
But if they will not soon open to an American, they will create the Cold War of cryptocurrency, and because Russia just banned Libra before it even came out. So if they will not, and I understand why people are not open to Americans, they don't want to mess with the SEC. So
No, but they weren't open to Americans in their initial offering. It doesn't mean that Americans cannot buy
Cannot be
the
able
Gram
to,
token after
right.
in the secondary market. The question is, they wanted, I guess, to be careful in terms of SEC regulation for an initial
It's kind of
offering.
like the Binance move.
But the
because
secondary
it's
market is not limited.
It's not regulated at this point because there's no way of deciding what it is. Is it utilities? Is it that? Then people are some of the responsible ones would argue that they don't want to play in that field.
I think it's very normal not to do business with Americans. That sounds weird, but for example, if you're
I
here
know.
and you go to a bank, even sometimes they
You
won't
can't.
do business with you because they don't want to have to do the reporting requirements for taxation in the U.S.
there's a lot of banks like fiat banks that does not want
That-
anything to do with
what I'm saying.
American people.
So
but
I
then,
don't think it should be seen as like a suspicious thing.
No, I'm not deeming it a suspicious thing. I'm saying
okay.
that people are choosing not to, because in the United States, so very little things are defined if they're not American. This is, and people are choosing then not just to even go through that system.
and they're more aimed to protect the investor public.
They're aiming to protect the American investment, but that's,
Right.
you know, that's at the end of the day, people would argue that in a global world and a global economy, America cannot keep itself that shut. I mean, I think that's the process that we're all sitting and discussing here at this point in time.
I guess when you have the SEC results with Kik, then we'll see.
that will take years.
That will take years, you're right. Maybe Libra will speed things up and we'll see regulation, but once there is a regulation, then...
I don't think Kik and Libra, any decision on Libra would affect the Kik litigation.
Well,
Kik litigation is about how you offer currency, if it's a security or a utility and whatever. What does Libra have to do with
but this is, and that's exactly it. And we're going to do the next one really quickly, because I do want to get to my favorite bit here, and that's the regulation bit. Because you're right, when you said it's not a conspiracy, it's the fact that the SEC, for example, not just Kik, but the SEC subscribed to certain rules from 1946 that need to be changed because we're in 2019. Can regulation, though, stop crypto? And that brings us to the G20 in Osaka of about 10 days ago, and the fact that, you know, the group has officially, I don't know if we have the picture of them all standing. There's another issue there that drove me nuts. But at the end of the
No women?
3. The group of 20 has officially welcomed cryptocurrency guidelines set by global money laundering watchdog, the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF, as we all know. What I love is that they call these guidelines, but if you don't comply, you're screwed, you know those. The group of 20 has officially welcomed cryptocurrency guidelines. To quote the form directly from a statement released last week in Osaka, we reaffirm, they say, hold on, we reaffirm our commitment to applying the recently amended FATF standards to virtual assets and related providers for anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism. Basically, those suggested guidelines recommend, and here you know them, and compel exchanges to collect and transfer customer information, such as originator's name, his account number, location information, as well as beneficiary's name and beneficiary's account number during transactions. What does that sound like?
It sounds like in 2 years we'll have
Sounds like a bank. Okay.
We'll
Like a
have
bank,
two,
like a
but
bank, yeah.
we have two groups, one of clean cryptocurrency and one of black cryptocurrency. And if you're in the clean one, you can you have to identify no more anonymity in cryptocurrency. You have to identify, you have to say which addresses you own, and then you can go to an exchange and it will be regulated and you can exchange your cryptocurrency for another. But if you are choosing to be on the black group, then you have a problem. No exchange will, no regulator exchange.
No regulator,
I don't know what's going to happen in Russia. It will affect Telegram, of course, but no regulator exchange will have your cryptocurrency. You will not able to trade them in exchange, and you definitely will not able to cash it out to a bank account, because you will be in the blacklist, and you can only trade in the blacklist group. Okay, and for tax purposes and for anti-money laundering purposes, you're going to have to play clean and become, own your Bitcoin and says those addresses are mine, and then you can go internationally and do something about
and not
it.
disappear in India.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that. Is that what we want? Is that a scenario?
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Like, is the agenda for cryptocurrencies and blockchain to not pay taxes and
It's not to
be
pay
able to
taxes.
fund
It's
terror?
not that. It's not that.
Hold
I
on,
think
I can tell you exactly
sure.
a reason why not. It's that the purpose of cryptocurrencies, particularly the truly decentralized Bitcoin-style cryptocurrencies, is to remove that middleman, effect. And you're not going to be able to put this on layer 1 of the Bitcoin network.
So
you're going
the
to be
middleman, your government that you pay taxes to, is that the
I'm not just
middleman?
talking about the middleman. This comes down to a classic privacy argument. Privacy is not just something to only be done for hiding and for money launderers and drug users.
It's a personal
People
choice.
also should have the right to privacy to use it as themselves, and that was the idea behind cryptocurrencies. I'm not going to pretend that it hasn't been used nefariously by individuals who want to cause problems, who want to do illegal activities and avoid taxes and whatnot. But at the same time, the purpose of a decentralized means of exchange was so we didn't have to have a middleman. And now, particularly with something like Bitcoin, you're going to have a middleman in place that's able to pass over those travel rule details, because it's not built into the network inherently.
That's what
and
these
that's
rules are
really
saying.
problematic, because that means that middlemen suddenly are re-entered the space, and what the hell's the point of using it at all?
What he said.
I have to think about it, but can't there be, like, I assume there'll be technologies that are, I don't know, zero knowledge proof, that you'll be able to like say what your wallets are without actually like proving that it's you without actually knowing that it's you. So like I guess there'll be decentralized technologies. There are identity management blockchains, Civic and others that are already in this space. So
this is the time for zero knowledge proof that you're right, this is the middleman, but the middleman will keep your data and will send the governments only what they have to know in order to really, all of us wants to avoid helping drug dealers and terrorists, right? So this is the time for the middlemen to get to start developing really good zero knowledge proof.
I mean, I think that it's been a nice way to avoid paying tax for some time, and like I think everyone in some way likes to avoid paying tax. I can't imagine anyone is happy
I never
to
tried it, so I don't know if I like it.
Okay, but anyway, I think that there's something. It speaks to something kind of inherent to the original cryptocurrency.
Yeah, go ahead.
People, which is like in some way it's inherently anti-government, and I think. So for example, when I spoke to Charles Hoskinson, the Cardano guy, he was adamant that he could just do whatever he wanted without the government. If they're not going to help him, he'll just do it without them. And I think something like this was inevitable, but perhaps you could find a workaround where.
That's the thing. I think we're in the midst of this big battle about what it will be. That's exactly that.
Yes.
And I mean, I think that's what we're going to see also with the entrance of Libra.
But I would also say, if you reach a point where you can pay for something in crypto and using even, let's say, a black market exchange or an unregulated exchange, and you have the ability to just go to a store and place something, like it would be very difficult, I think, for them to.
You won't have the ability to do that. No store is going to get blacklisted addresses. They also have to be accountable for anti-money laundering. The FATF regulation is not for tax purposes, although you will be very surprised
how much they do deal with it. Yeah.
You know, people in the United States, the main population that holds crypto does not report to the IRS on their cryptocurrency yet. The IRS did not enforce it yet, except Coinbase.
Yeah, but the argument is that those that even want to, they can't, because there's no real section. Well, specifically, you know, there are those who do want to do that.
Actually, there is, and there is a way to report to the IRS. But IRS in last May has issued a letter saying, because Congress asked them to.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're saying they're going to have soon clarification for it. So I think next January nobody will have this excuse not to file. And they are not filing.
Next January, it's going to be actually very interesting.
But the anti-money laundering issue is different than the tax issue, and here you have the real problem, because no store, Starbucks, everybody who get into cryptocurrency right now, Disney, Fidelity, Nike, they will not accept any cryptocurrency without checking it first.
Yeah. Oh my God! I just saw that.
Yeah, but they weren't accepting that much cryptocurrency yet to begin with. So we're going from a situation where they weren't accepting. There's been a brief window where they've accepted without these rules. Then you'll just go straight to having the rule. Like, I don't think in its form as it exists now there are that many, at least from the original, the sort of cypherpunks, the anarcho-capitalists who were intending to use it to trade with Disney. They weren't necessarily planning to buy Bitcoin for the purpose of buying Mickey Mouse ears. They were thinking of it more for the purpose of storing value.
They also did not want to promote drug dealers and terrorists.
Maybe drug dealers. I don't know.
But I think that another point is that we live in a fairly stable place, and the government works. We're happy, I guess, some of us are happy to pay tax to
Where is that?
And so
Where
I'm
is
saying
that?
if whereas comparatively,
Yeah.
whereas if you live in somewhere again like Venezuela, or if you were even a Syrian person, there's been a lot of stories of people from Syria who converted all of their cash into some sort of cryptocurrency. So then if you have a situation where you have a dictator, you can go, okay, you have to give me all of your data, otherwise you can't operate. So it kills this side of the business, or this side of the industry, which was, to me, always a core component of it.
Of part, and many like you, and that's what I'm saying. The people of the sphere, many like them. But folks, we're having so much fun with these amazing margaritas, and some of you are having margaritas because this is being taped on the 4th of July. The One American, raise your glass, thank you. Are you too? Hallelujah. And now, really quickly, Forbes predicted a surge on this fireworks weekend as per the headline. And hold on, but before we do that, stick with us, no flipping. One sponsorship and we're back.
Sponsored by Ivan. Transfer Bitcoin and Ethereum anywhere.
4th of July weekend, Bitcoin has had a bit of a flippity flip. I can't believe I just said that. Throughout the week, but it's back on top. Forbes predicts a surge throughout Berg weekend, which is this weekend. Predictions. We're now, I don't want to say where we're standing. Where do you think we'll stand by Monday on Bitcoin?
Price predictions?
Price predictions.
Damn.
Come on, you know you want to. 3 days.
I think we're heading back up 13.8. I think we're back in. We're going to test
nice.
the peaks for 2019.
Evans from down under.
Data. Put it on.
Yeah, it's good. Yes.
Yeah, I'll be optimistic. I don't know, 14.
Okay,
hopefully.
14.
Maybe. I don't know. It's not based on anything.
Whatsoever.
Based on the news. We've let the
Some will argue neither is the market.
Just on Trump's tweets with the war with China, and he tweeted that, and all of my Twitter was like crypto people saying buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. So
exactly.
Maybe
I'm
hoping.
Okay, land of the free, home of the brave. Not yours, David. But what do you predict?
I don't even know what it is now, like 10 grand or something?
It's above.
It's 11 something. It's like almost 12.
At the time of this taping.
Let's say 11 grand.
11
it seems
3
to be
days from now?
So that means it's down from what it is now in 3 days.
All right, we're going to have some diversity.
Reluctant journalists. Or
Not above 12.
okay, 3 days. That was the prediction for the 4th of July weekend. Let's raise a glass and thank ourselves on this day of freedom. There we go. This is Blockchain on Booze.
On this day of Libra.
Libra Liberte. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter. Sponsored by Ivan. Transfer Bitcoin and Ethereum anywhere.